Let's start by welcoming back Luci after it's been over a year since last we heard from Luci.
It's been a while.
I think it might have been even longer than that.
I think it's been longer than that.
Yeah.
It's bonkers, man. Time flies.
Yeah, it's a little weird. I was actually sitting down when you got Luci to come on, and I thought about how long I've known Luci, and how long I've known you, and it's just weird. It's been years and years and years.
It's not weird. It's actually pretty cool.
It is.
And watching you guys like develop and to see where you're at now, I am like so amazed and so proud of you guys.
That's awesome.
We're amazed as well, to be honest with you. It's I mean, when we look back and our first episode is still available out there, and it's not the Whatcast, even though it was, technically the Whatcast, but it was not the Whatcast. And just to see where we are now versus where we were, it's crazy. And through all the shit we've had to go through too at times just to get shows out and make sure things come out and arrange guests and all that shit, just that, that we just had our 5-year anniversary last month.
That's awesome. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mateo didn't give me a gift either. I'm still a little butthurt about that.
Yeah, what is a 5-year anniversary? Is that like wood, paper?
Yeah, you could have at least given me a paper airplane or something. You monster.
I didn't get anything either.
Some origami, something,
Something, I know. I didn't get nothing either, though. So, ha.
All right, you got me there.
So, Miss Luci, just to refresh everybody's memory for new listeners who aren't familiar with Luci, tell everybody it is that you do.
Oh yeah, go ahead, throw me under the bus. Let's see. I'm me. I'm a tarot card reader. I am an aspiring author. I'm a Cherokee Indian. I am a mom. I am a paranormal investigator. I'm me.
Well put.
Yeah, that's about it in a nutshell.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, I got
might as well just throw on goddamn superhero.
It's all in a day's work. What can I say?
I got to admit, I met Miss Luci by being a super fanboy of her show. And that's been, you guys quit doing that a few years ago.
I think it's been like a couple years. We used to do Paranormal Review Radio. I think we were on the air for like about 5 years. And that was kind of like a labor of love. I mean, that was really, really cool because it opened the door to meeting some of the most unusual, interesting, and amazing people, all across the board, from the paranormal to the spiritual to UFO people. And it just really, through the show, we met Mateo and, the Whatcast. And it was like watching your little brother and see him go into, follow in your footsteps and surpass you. Because I mean, honestly, listening to your show, I honestly think that you guys have kind of like gone past what we did.
Wow.
I really do. I mean, honestly, and that's no bullshit. That's from the bottom of my heart.
That means a lot. I mean, I only got the idea to do a podcast or do anything like this just by being such a big fan of you guys and your work. I was a big fan of podcasts, but I couldn't just quite find a good paranormal podcast. It's usually full of super uptight, stuffy people. And that's, you guys are, I mean, one of the main inspirations for me anyway.
Cool. Yeah, the thing is with paranormal podcasting, a lot of it seems to be, and no offense, I mean, there's a place for it, but it's like, listening to this group and listening to that group, which is fine, kind of like your community, local outreach or whatever. But when you listen to a paranormal podcast, you kind of want to know, well, I want to talk to the people that are actually causing me to look for answers. The people that are actually, I don't want to say in the thick of it, but the people who are writing the books, who are having the experiences, who are making new discoveries, whether it be paranormal, whether it be with UFOs, even in spirituality. I mean, I want to talk to, the mediums that are making headlines, that are making, and that's not to say there isn't a place for, it's like, hey, we got this group over here and this is what they done. And they went to go visit this one spot. That's wonderful. That's great. And it's like, if it wasn't for those people, who knows where the next big discovery can be. But when it comes to listening to a podcast, I kind of want to talk to a Stanton Friedman. I want to talk to a uh, uh, the guy from Ghost Hunters. I want to talk to, as much as you may not enjoy them, you want to talk to these people, and get their side of it, get their story. And you want to make sure that you're doing something that people aren't just going to shut off. It's like, oh my God, these people are droning on. I I didn't want to be that person. I wanted to be able to put something out there that people will say, oh, wow, that's really cool. I didn't know that. And, I think you guys have got that, because even if you guys make me laugh, you guys keep me interested. And then when I look at some of the subjects, it's like, whoa, that's really cool. I never thought about that. You make people think. And I think that's the whole purpose of doing a podcast.
Yeah, we don't want, even though, like, and from being in the business of broadcasting paranormal topics, it's typically going to be territory that's already been gone down.
Yeah.
So it's important to look at it, at least offer something different. If you're not able to find a different take on it or have a different theory on it, then at least tell jokes about it that no one else has,
Mm-hmm.
or create a mythology around it. Do something to make it interesting so that it's different from everybody else's take on it.
Yeah.
I could sit here and read a Wikipedia page, but who's going to give a shit about that?
Right. You guys are putting your take on it, and your take may be something that someone else hasn't seen. Now, I have kind of moved over to Twitter. I'm not really doing any broadcasting, but I do have 2 different Twitter pages. One of them is still devoted to the paranormal. I gather like articles, videos, anything that's out of the ordinary, and I put it out there, because that's the other thing that I found. It's really hard to find an outlet where I can read, stories, where I can read something that's not, okay, out of the ordinary. Like I get stuff from all over the world. The UK, the Daily Mirror, they're really good about posting stories about like ghost sightings and this one in a pub. But the other Twitter page, my personal page, is geared more towards television. And that's a lot what I've been doing lately, is like, not to say that I'm a critic, but there is a whole section of the community that while you're watching a lot of these shows, they live tweet. And it's just kind of like being in your front room with a couple thousand of your friends on the couch with you, and you just tweet while you go through it. You'd be surprised how interesting and funny and how much better it makes the shows. Reality TV is a big thing. There's a whole community around Survivor. There's a whole community around The Amazing Race. Westworld, one of the most amazing science fiction shows ever. and I'm a science fiction dork from way back. There's a whole community that tweets and talks about this and discusses it. So I've been doing a lot of that, and people's perceptions, their own personal opinions changes a lot what you think of a show, you know, and I would kind of like to see that with paranormal, with the paranormal. There are communities that tweet, and honestly, the state of paranormal in media right now, I think, is pretty sad. There's not much on television. Podcasts are still going. There's still some really good ones, the What Cast included, probably one of the best of the bunch out there. But there's not really a whole lot. You've got the things like For Ghost Adventures, which are basically 99% fangirls, like tweeting, hey, Zach, you're so hot. That's not that's not what makes it. I still watch the show basically to see the locations, not so much to see the personalities. That's always been that with that show.
Yeah, we've talked about that a ton too. A lot of those ghost hunter paranormal shows, they always seem to have the guy with the shirt that's 12 sizes too tight, and gelled hair, and he's just comes off like a complete douche. And it's one of those shows where they go from commercial break to commercial break, so you have to hook them before the commercial so they come back, and then it's never what you think the hook is going to be once they come back. And then they get you again with the next one, like, oh this time they heard something on tape, but we have to wait for the commercial to hear it back. And it was like a cat next door meowing in the alley or something. Like, oh, I could have sworn it was a ghost baby crying.
But keep in mind, maybe it's a demon. I mean, it's like, come on, everything is
it's a demon cat.
Yeah. It's silly. And you know what? Because I've investigated with these guys, with some of the people that have done shows. It's not like that, guys. Remember, it's television, it's editing. They're taking a whole 12, 15 hours worth of film and stuff and cramming it into actually maybe 40 minutes of television time,
if you're lucky.
Yeah. So you get nights where nothing happens. So it's like, okay, we've got to make something happen here. So, I mean, honestly, you got to take everything with a grain of salt, but that's sad because I still want to be able to tune into something and see, I remember times where I've sat and watched a freaking live feed from a live investigation online for like hours, just staring at a screen, only because I want to see something. I know there's no market for that, but thank God for the internet, where you can still, someone sets up a camera, maybe you'll see something, maybe you won't, but that's what paranormal investigating is,
And that's, I like that there's a medium for diehard people out there, like the people that will do like a Facebook live event or live YouTube event, and it's just them investigating. So it's not left up to network editors to make things interesting. You see it all. It's a warts and all production. It's you're bored along with them. If nothing happens, nothing happens. They're not doing it to get sponsorship ratings. It's all for the people that are interested in it, and anyone who's really interested in it knows that you're not going to get a hit every single time.
Mm-hmm.
That's the nature of the beast. It doesn't. The paranormal doesn't work on your time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not there to entertain you. It's there to do its thing when it wants to do its thing. And if you're fortunate enough to be there and witness it or capture it, even better. But it's I don't know of any place that you walk into and things just start flying off the shelves and chains are rattling and moaning and you're getting cold spots and you're getting touched on the bed. There's no places that happens all of the time.
I want to beg to differ on that. I've been to Eastern State Penitentiary a couple times, and I have to say that that place has never disappointed me. But I want to say that I've been lucky enough or blessed enough that every time that I've gone to a location, I've been lucky enough to have something happen. I've been touched, physically touched, quite a bit. I've heard things, I've felt things. I've never been fortunate enough to see an actual apparition, but I think a lot of it has to do with your intention the minute you walk into the door. I mean, if you're walking in, like I'm gonna be like, you know, Zach Baggins, and I'm gonna, call these spirits out.
Yeah,
You know,
calling them out, right?
it's not gonna work. You know, but if you walk in with the intention of truly communicating and trying to make a contact, I mean, think about it. You've been sitting for whatever reason is anchoring your essence, your being to this one spot. And all of a sudden, here comes someone who you can tell can either sense you or hear you. You're going to make an effort to try to reach out to that person, as opposed to the other person that comes in and is, huffing and puffing and saying, I need you to, I demand that you talk to me. It's going to be like, hey, sorry, guy, you're not going to do it. I truly believe that these are still souls, essence, these are people. And for whatever reason that is anchoring them to that level, to that plane, instead of them moving forward, they have some kind of agenda. Either there's unfinished business, there is fear of moving forward. There is, maybe the whole knowledge that they don't realize that they're dead. There's some reason. So, which means they either have a message or they have a story that they still need to tell. So if you go in with the intention of like, hey, I really want to talk to you, I really want to communicate, tell me your story, I think you're going to get that connection. I mean, it's worked for me. It's always worked for me. And, it's just, I hate to say it, but it is a rush. It is a rush that you've made that kind of connection with someone who's not on the same plane as you are. They're in the next level. And here it is. It's like you've kind of bridged that a little bit. And I think that's something that's truly amazing. And that's something that's going to keep me going as long as I can.
Are you still investigating?
I haven't been lately. Honestly, I'm just trying to find somebody that's going to let me tag along. I almost made it to Alcatraz this spring, but had some family issues that changed that. I really, really want to get there. I've never been there. Honestly, I've never been to California, but Alcatraz is just, it's for some reason, I've just got this itch to go there. It was kind of like, because I do a lot of traveling for hockey. Okay. I'm a huge hockey fan. So, wherever the Blackhawks play, I'll set up a trip. And we were actually going to go and see hockey out in California. And I spend a day going to Alcatraz, where it's not going to be a formal, overnight investigation. I think that would be totally expensive, but I just want to set foot on it. There's certain places that, I mean, think about it. There are spirits everywhere. Okay. It's not, you just don't have to go to a so-called haunted location. And as I get older, I know I've been told that my medium abilities are becoming stronger. I notice that. I mean, I can walk into some place, I'll tell you, it's just a feeling that you get, or you just know if something's haunted. I live in Chicago. I worked at the Merchandise Mart for probably about 3 years. Talk about haunted. Okay. Now, this is a building that has an intense history. It was owned by the Kennedy family. It's been there forever. It's kind of one of these Chicago buildings that have always been there. And it is haunted. You can feel it. I, going to the bathroom, started talking to some of the cleaning ladies, some of the stories that they have, and which I really wished I probably would have, written down. I mean, it would be something, because I mean, it's haunted. some of the stories that I got from them, where, cleaning in the middle of the night, you hear doors opening, or water going on. I've had, what was it? One of those automatic hand where they dispense the towels, and I know it can be an electrical surge. I know there's a million things that it could be, but I've had those things go off when there's nobody near it. So there's a lot of things in that building. There's a lot of things all over the place. So no matter where you go, some places may be more active than others, but there's activity all over. You could look at, here in Chicago, there's a lot of old buildings. I just recently moved. The apartment that I had lived in probably for about 8 years was definitely haunted. There's been, doorknobs moving. There's you always heard someone in the kitchen, which is fine. I don't have a problem cohabitating with them as long as this is my space. Whatever you need to do, you stay there. But it's all over the place. So, as far as investigating to a particular place, yes, trust me, I'm never going to stop investigating. I'm not actively doing it now, but like I said, if I can find somebody to let me tag along, I'm in.
When did you start noticing like a level upping in your sensitive abilities?
Oh, I want to say probably in the last couple of years, probably about, I honestly wanted to say it's almost like with the tarot card readings. In the last 2 years, I'm going to say that a lot of it is where I almost don't need the cards anymore. And don't get me wrong, the cards are a trigger to getting messages, but there was actually, which I've never done before, I actually used my tarot cards and a flashlight. And I know a lot of people say that the flashlight, where you unscrew it, where it can go on and off by itself, doesn't work. Okay, believe what you want to believe. For me, it worked. I actually used my tarot cards with the flashlight in a haunted location and just I would pull the cards, and whatever impression came to me, I would say it out loud. And I asked the spirits that were there, if I'm right, turn the light on, turn the light off, turn the light on if it's right. And believe it or not, I mean, I actually got some pretty good responses. That was the first time that I really started noticing that things started opening up. It's just weird. It's just the older I get, the more it just seems to happen. I mean, it's at the point sometimes where I can feel things. I can walk into a room, I can walk into work and just feel all these emotions, and I almost like have to block it. Or you can go places, you walk into an older building and you just know what's going on, not just in the present. It's almost like you can feel the history of this place. It's really weird. And I want to say going to England opened up a lot of it, because I also believe in reincarnation. I also believe in previous lives. And for me, going to England was kind of like it was like a spiritual quest to kind of like see if this past life thing really meant anything. And I honestly had such an awakening there. And it's really weird because I did go to Stonehenge, and, people are saying, oh, that's the spirit, that's a spiritual center. Stonehenge was cool, but it really didn't set off any bells or whistles for me.
Really?
I'm serious. I mean, the main thing with Stonehenge was cool. I could sense the history, but my bells and whistles went off in Westminster Abbey. I had no intention, and I went by myself. I had no intention of spending so much time in that place. But the minute I walked into this place, it was like I couldn't leave. I spent 8 hours. They literally had to kick me out of there when they were closing up shop. I just wandered this building, and the sense that you get, oh my God, you're in the middle of history, and there are spirits there. There are people that you have read about that are part of history, and some of them are still there. And it's almost like it was one of the most amazing, and I want to say opening experiences I ever had. I just can't, I cannot wait to go back. I'm definitely, before I leave this plane of existence, I am going back there. And it, on my itinerary, it really wasn't, I had planned to go there to visit, but I just spent a whole day there, and I had to, because there is so much there that brings you to, that connects you to the other side. It's just one of those places. I think there are different places for different people. And for me, that was mine. For someone else, it could be someone here. I mean, um, there's just certain places where I think the activity or the spiritual connection there is so strong, whether it be, souls that are remaining there, it could be the energy of the earth. Um, Another, it just, I want to say that was about 2 years ago. And that is probably when I really started noticing that, my abilities just started, boom. Hillview Manor was another one. When I walked in, one of the young ladies that works, that is there, she has abilities too. She has psychic abilities. And she shared with me, when I walked into that place, it was like really easy for me to sense who was where and what was that. But she said that when I walked in, she heard the spirits tell her that I was psychic. And I was like, whoa, to me, that was absolutely so cool.
Wow.
That even the spirits, they pick up on that. They know who is open and who's not. So that's why I say, I mean, your intent when you go into some place, you're going to have people that go into haunted locations and haunted places, and they never get a hit. They never get anything. Well, that's because you're looking for the wrong thing. You're looking for the thrill. You're looking for, I want this chair to be knocked over. I want, knock 3 times. Let me know you're there. It's like, wait a minute, just stop, listen. They will talk to you, and not so much in, maybe you will hear a voice. Maybe you will hear, a can rattle or something, but you'll get a sign. You will definitely get a sign, but you can't go in there and demand. It's just like someone walking up to you right now. Hey, Mike, Mateo, knock on this wall 3 times. Let me know you're there. You're going to turn around and you're going to say, hey, screw you. Yeah. It's the same
It's like the classic,
thing.
like, oh, you're funny? Tell me a joke. Make me laugh.
Yeah. It's the same thing. Yeah. It's the same thing. They are the same person, same energy that they were on this side that there are on the other side. And keep in mind, too, if they were a jerk on this side, chances are they're going to be a jerk on the other side. I mean, I feel proof of that just going to some of these prisons, these haunted locations. I mean, some of the experiences that I've had in Eastern State Penitentiary, I've been called names. Oh my God. I've been called names.
Almost like every time you guys went out. So
yeah,
somebody was calling you a name.
But it's like, that's because they were jerks on this side. They were, they're still jerks on the other side. And until they make that final decision to move on into the light or whatever, they're going to hang out and they're going to stay there. They're not going to their final change, which I believe happens. But I believe that there are spirits that, like I said, you hang out here because you got unfinished business, or either you're scared or you don't know. Who knows? Someday the only way that we'll know the truth. I mean, I know we keep searching for answers, and I know people keep trying to find that answer. And I think maybe we will. But ultimately, you'll never know until you go through that doorway yourself. So my plan now is, once I go through that doorway, I'll let you guys all know.
We got to come up with a word or...
Yeah, I'm going to send messages back and let you guys know what's going on.
I just heard a story about a guy that actually apparently did that. God damn it, I can't remember the dude's name. But it was he left messages in people's books.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and they would be like reading it, and there wouldn't be anything there, but they'd put it down or whatever, and they'd come back and there'd be like a word redacted or like a letter redacted to make a message or something. and no one else was in the room.
Wow.
And this guy, before he died, said, if there's a way that I can send you a message from the other side, I'm going to do it. And he did.
Awesome. That's awesome.
I'm going to have to do more research on that and get the details so I can talk about it on the show, because it's a really cool story.
Yeah.
I just don't remember the details off the top of my head.
Yeah. And you know what? See, another thing as I get older, I'm half Cherokee Indian, the Native American side. I've went back to the reservation a couple times, which also opened up a lot for me. I think getting in touch with that side, with those roots, I've always known that being Native American, for some reason, I truly believe that Native people are more open and have a clearer path to the other side. Because there's not that many restrictions in the culture, ghosts and spirit guides and all of this. It's not so much as a bad thing, as taboo, where in society as we know it, it's like, oh, well, don't talk about that. People will think you're weird, Hey, it is what it is. It's what I believe. It's what I do, So I've never been one to kind of shut up about it. I've always talked about it, and I've always been told, shh, don't talk about that. People are going to think you're crazy. Well, in that case, I'm crazy. But on the Native American side, it's more accepted. It's like you can talk about these things. Mm-hmm. So going to the reservation has just opened up so much for me. On the Native American side, we believe in spirit guides. My mother and my grandmother are my spirit guides. Now, in this life, I didn't get along with my mother. There were definite differences. But in the afterlife, it's almost like that's all gone. Now, my grandmother, I've never met the woman, never talked to her in this plane. But yet, it's like I have the sense that she's with me, and we communicate. So it's the belief, again, it's that belief, the Native American belief, where your spirit guides, your spirits, your family, they stay with you. They're always with you, which to me is comforting. And, as I get older, I'm seeing more proof of it, and again, the Native American belief, everything goes in cycles, everything is a circle. So the consciousness that we have here in this life, this is this cycle. Okay. So when we come to the end of it, we just fling into the next cycle. And that next cycle will go through it. And we keep going through it until that final judgment. Whatever you believe the end of it, it's just going to keep going. Because in essence, what are we? We're energy. Yes, we are a soul. We are a consciousness, whatever you want to call it. But it's still energy. And that energy remains. So I truly believe that energy, I think there are just some of us that are more in tune to it, and we pick up on it. So my having abilities, I don't think it's that special, because I truly believe everybody can do it. You as a parent, you always know when there's something wrong with your child. That is the perfect example of what that energy is. The only thing is, as a parent, you're focused on your child. You're focused on that. Well, just think if you could expand that a little bit, you all of a sudden can start connecting with other energies. It's just like this little tree, and we are little saplings, and we're connecting with, our immediate family. But as we allow ourselves to grow and to blossom, that connection starts moving further and further to where it's opening up into the world. Make sense?
Yeah. It almost seems like the way things are going these days with a lot of the major religions, and even just people who don't end up practicing or following any certain religion, that people are like spiritually numb these days. Mm-hmm. It's something that's definitely been removed from almost every walk.
It's the technology, man.
You think that's
technology sucks the spirituality right out of you?
Yeah. It does. But see, it's almost like I really think a lot of it we can't blame everything on everybody else.
It's more the way that it's being used by people. It's easier to distract yourself and become blind to the world around you. You just get sucked into your smartphone. It's right there. You've got everything you want ever on it.
But think about it too. Where you're looking at your smartphone, you're on the computer. It's communication. It's communication.
But that's if you use it like that, though.
But we're taking out the one-on-one communication, the face-to-face communication.
Yeah,
and that starts from childhood.
Mm-hmm.
How many parents actually sit down with their kids now and actually talk to them instead of plopping them in front of a television or in front of an iPad or in front of a computer? It's that one-on-one communication. It's like talking to your child. That's where it starts. And if the child grows up not with that communication between parents or whoever's, raising them, then they get up and they go into the world and it's like, oh, well, look, they're on the internet or they're on their phones. And it's kind of like, yeah, I'm communication, but there's no one-on-one. There's no actual, for all that we do, all that we communicate online, how often do we even touch somebody, hold somebody's hand, pat them on the back, give them a hug? That's what's missing.
Yeah, it's like the actual human experience or experience with other humans. Even if you're communicating online, you're communicating with a person, but it's just sharing thoughts and ideas. It's not the actual, you're not developing intimacy with somebody or really getting, even talking to them, being able to hear a human voice and the emotion in their voice and the inflections they use and their manner of speaking. That's all very important part of communication. If you're just reading it in text form, you're getting the ideas, but you're not getting you're not getting a real sense of who the person is. Anybody can type any words on a screen.
Mm-hmm.
And
perfect
that's
example.
why it's so easy to catfish people. You hear about the catfish thing happening all the time because you're only using text. So that could literally be anybody putting on any act and you wouldn't have any clue.
You can create whoever you want to be. See, that's the difference with the internet and with the way that we communicate. You can create any persona that you want. You could be anything that you want and put it out there and convince people this is what you are. I see it in business, in my day job. Okay. You look at these kids coming in and they've got all these degrees and it's like, oh, this one's got an MBA and all this stuff. But then when you actually sit down to talk to them, it's like there is no social interaction. They've never learned how to talk to people. They've never learned how to maneuver through conversation and things like that. Why? Because they've spent their last 4 to 6 years online and in text and in books, but they've never actually, it's like, hey, can you cross the street by yourself? It's that portion of it. So that's why for me, with the paranormal investigating, people freak out. Oh, I got touched, and they scream. Every time that I have been touched, to me, is almost like, oh my God, it is such an amazing experience because somebody from that other plane has reached out and tried to connect with me. I mean, it is like the most amazing feeling. The first time that it ever happened to me was in Eastern State Penitentiary. I felt a finger, a hand rub my arm, but I didn't scream. I didn't think it was something. I watched some of these people, some of these videos and stuff, and it's like, it's like, could you stop? That's, are you out there? Are you just trying to get the scare? Then there's lots of haunted houses you can go during Halloween. Go ride a roller coaster if that's what you want. But it's that communication. It's like, oh my God, you're out there. You're looking to connect with the paranormal. So why the hell are you freaking screaming? It irks me to no end. I'm telling you, I can't say enough about it.
I agree.
It just really bothers me.
With all of the television shows that are out, there's that big boom of them in the early 2000s. But it's one thing that they all seem to forget during these investigations. You're trying to not manifest. You're just trying to find something that's pretty much like an energy. You're searching for an energy, but they pay no attention to what energy they're putting out. So people are shouting and demanding that they show themselves and all that stuff. I mean, you're just spewing and filling the space with negative energy, and they all just instantly blow it. When I watch some of these shows, and I'll just see how people's demeanors are or what they're doing, I'm like, you've already blown the investigation, man.
Yeah.
No one's talking to you now.
I mean, I look at some of the ones that are still on, and it was one of the ones last week, and it's like, okay, wait a minute, you guys have been doing this crap forever, and you're still like, whoa, screaming and yelling, and it's like, okay, stop playing up to the camera. Do what you originally did. Do what pulled me in, and that's the investigation. I mean, I still watch them because like I says, I watch them for the locations. I want to see these places. What did I just watch? There was something that I just watched, and it's like, you know what? I really want to go there now, and I can't remember what it is. But I mean, it's like, you see these places, and you almost have to like tune out the people that are there. I mean, there's still some British stuff that, well, we're not going to go into Most Haunted because that right there is just kind of a joke. But there's still some stuff online where you can find and you can actually see the locations. And I think that's, even if you just take a camera and let it sit there, I think that's what is needed. I mean, the personality part, I think too much ego was the downfall of, the paranormal. I think too many people started believing their own hype. And I kind of see where it's like, the whole paranormal right now is kind of like on a downside. A lot of people are just like, oh, well, I'm leaving the paranormal. Great. Who cares? I mean, it's not going to stop my, search, but you can go online and every time we, oh, I've decided that I'm leaving the paranormal. Well, you know what, buddy? You've never really were in it. So
I love the grand proclamations. I just wanted to let you all know I'm done. I'm never going to work in the field again.
Okay. But it's, it's ego. It's all about ego. I think a lot of people saw it as, well, here's my chance. I'm going to be famous like everybody else. I'm going to be the next Zach Baggins, It's like, okay, you know what? No one cares. No one really cares. If we were all just honest and admitted, we like the paranormal because of the answers. And there's still a certain segment of people that really still want these answers. My interest is never going to go away because I'm still looking for my own personal answers. I'm looking for my truth, and my truth is always going to be my truth. Your truth is going to be yours, and his will be his. That's all there is to it.
I'm always more into it for the mystery of it all. Like I feel like the answers ruin it. I don't want the answers. I like to. I want there to be like take Bigfoot for instance. He's awesome because he's mysterious and nobody knows. But if it was just all of a sudden found out that he's just some hominid species that clung to life and hid in the Pacific Northwest, like that's boring. That's not some cool mythical creature romping through the woods. That's just an ape man. That's I mean it's still cool that there's a species that we thought was extinct that's here, but it's not as cool as like mystical spirit ape that can disappear or is maybe also an alien.
I was just going to say, like the with Bigfoot, the theories now that Bigfoot is an alien being and that he can disappear or I mean, those kinds of stories, those are the things that keep me going, things like that. What was the other one? Some of these UFO things, I'm still totally fascinated by alien abductions. Okay. People that are waking up and, all of a sudden saying, well, I've got a chip in me. Okay, look, these are the things that I'm interested in. I look for stories, accounts of, these abductions, and there's been some really weird ones. There's one from South America where the guy was a farmer and he was supposedly taken and sexually abused by the aliens. Those are the stories I want to hear. I want to hear about the weird stuff. Okay, like the little lamp where the cow is being pulled up. I want that. I do want the answers, But in the meantime, I want to hear about all these stories too, because that's where, all of a sudden, let's say we start seeing a pattern. Okay. We start seeing a pattern all across the world. Just some of this ancient alien stuff. How is it that in South America we can see some of these pyramids and shapes and types of buildings that are exactly the same as something completely across the world? How does that happen?
It
Those
could have
are the
been
things.
a ancient culture rather than aliens, though. It could have been some culture that we're not even aware existed. And there's a lot of evidence of things being covered up that
Yeah.
would let us know what happened. Like in Egypt, especially with that dude Zahi Hawass, he's been covering shit up left and right, and then lying about it when. Like there's a shaft on the head of the Sphinx that
Mm-hmm.
it's covered up, but there's pictures of him actually going down into it.
Well, in addition to the cover up, though, think about all the things that are being destroyed. Because in
Yeah,
that portion of the world, they are destroying a lot of, these artifacts, a lot of these
yeah, like
locations.
the Assyrian temple that was destroyed by ISIS. Like,
Yes.
oh my
Yeah.
God,
It's
that
heartbreaking.
is terrible. Like those videos are just heartbreaking.
These are the things, it's like, so I think we have a responsibility to ourselves and to to mankind to research this, to look at this, to learn about it. You can't let these things just disappear. And that's not only just the history. What if there is some kind of alien, spiritual, mystical connection? We as a people tend to you know, we've always kind of blocked that out. We've always said, oh, that's not real. When in reality, we're learning that some of this stuff is real. Some of this stuff is there is an opening of our mind. There is, we have so many capabilities and functions that we can do ourselves that we've just closed up. Our third eye, it's a real thing.
It's weird that people believe that we're not just going to discover anything anymore. It just seems like that seems to be the majority opinion, that we're done discovering things. Mike, you even alluded to that we're going to discover new things and we're going to find out they're just natural parts of the earth.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's something that we've seen throughout time, though, is the establishment, the scientific establishment, doesn't want their cart turned over. They want things to be. They want to feel like they're in charge of their perception or of the world's perception of science or history or whatever. I mean, just look at the whole heliocentric versus geocentric theory.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
kicking and screaming, the establishment had to be convinced that the Earth was not the center of the universe.
mm-hmm. Well, how do I control you? By controlling what you know,
Yeah,
by
exactly.
limiting your knowledge of things. The dumbing down of the masses. Okay, let's go into conspiracy theories. Look at our water, look at fluoride. There are things that I believe have purposely been done to keep us from discovering, from learning, because a docile sheep doesn't know much. Here, you go, you eat, you poop, you sleep. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, it's the old Roman bread and circus.
Uh-huh.
Give them as the bread and the circus, and they don't need anything else. They're not going to get all upset. They're not going to be looking deeper into things because they're fed and they're entertained, and that's all that they need.
Right. So that's why I think, those of us that still question, those of us that still look for answers, yeah, we do have a responsibility to keep this going. Keep asking the questions, because as a whole, society tells you, no, you don't have to answer. You don't have to ask. Just you just accept this. Here, this is what the truth is. Let's go back to the Bible. How many times has that been rewritten? Whoever's in power changes it to their needs.
To say nothing of the 54 miles of bookshelves that they have in their secret vault that they don't even tell people what's in there.
You know what? I mean, if we could only find a fraction of what is in the Vatican secret archives, I think we would be. I think there's so much hidden knowledge there, but
it's basically they locked up the serpent from Eden is what they did. That's what it is.
So it's like, I think those of us that still question, and trust me, you guys are such a big part of it, because you still discuss, you still talk about, sure, you guys laugh about stuff and you make it interesting, but you guys are still questioning. And I think that's one of the most awesome things that the two of you do. There needs to be more of you.
Thank you. I mean,
I don't know about that.
That's the only thing I wanted to do with the show, is have maybe somebody's not heard of some of the things that we've covered, and it makes them think about it and maybe go research it themselves.
That was what we tried to do with our podcast. If we couldn't get you an answer, maybe we'd give you a question, and maybe that question would lead you to look it up or to go, try to find out more about it. It's basically what we're doing. What you guys are doing is just opening up someone's mind. That's all it is. Instead of the whole song and dance, instead of Kardashians and which I will never to this day understand why anybody with any ounce of intelligence would watch something like that. But instead of just giving people stuff to look at and ingest, how about giving them questions? How about giving them a doorway that they can either open or they can leave it shut? The choice is yours.
Yeah, but it definitely seems like
that's why Mateo picked the title for the show, because he wanted people to say what.
But see, it works. It works. I mean, if what, it's like, okay. One of the thrills that I had was driving back from an investigation. I think it was St. Albans Sanitarium, and I did stop in to see the Mothman statue. And every time I see your guys' logo, that's all I think about. I was just, and I think I captioned the photo as like, stopped and hooked up with the Mothman. And like I said, I mean, there's so many questions out there. There's so much, and it just doesn't have to be, for me, it's not just the paranormal. It's like everything. And the one Twitter feed that I have, I do it for everybody else, but I kind of do it for me. I do it so I can see what's going on. I can see what's out there. And you'd be surprised. I mean, a lot of times, a lot of these outlets, there's not a whole lot. You kind of have to search for it. So, when you want to question things, you can't just go and do a search, on Mothman. Sometimes you have to kind of dig, and that's where you find the hidden gems. That's where you find the information that, wow, I didn't know that. That's when you go, what?
Yeah.
That's where it is. When you listen to you guys, because I can't say enough. You guys open that door for people. You throw out these sometimes most obscure questions, but it's like, you know what? When you go and you look for it, it does become what? And that's beautiful.
Thank you. That's awesome to hear.
It's the truth.
Now, do you guys think there's like a lack of really good paranormal shows? Because it kind of just seems like that field has gone, independent. They've all broken off from the giant companies. I mean, there's people who just go straight to YouTube. I mean, I remember one time we were talking about Bigfoot, and I think I said something to the effect of, you don't find any good Bigfoot footage anymore. Why did it stop? And then I went to YouTube, and it's just not true at all. There's tons of really great Bigfoot footage out there. Mm-hmm. But it's, instead of people giving up their content to companies and having them make a TV show out of it, do you think people are just choosing to put it out themselves? And that's why we can't, I don't know. They can't come up with enough stuff to actually make a show these days.
I don't think that I think everything is generated by profit. I think that the major companies aren't making a profit from it. I think, but I think they edit because it's all about ratings. So I think there's so much that's either changed, scripted, or put together, instead of it being actual real stories about the paranormal. I think it becomes like a scripted show. You cannot tell me that, some of the shows that you see aren't scripted. I mean, well, we've always known that. We've always known that they've been, you know, edited for a little bit. But I think it's gone past that point. I think people, rather than put their, you know, hook up with a major network, I think they'd rather go to YouTube where they don't have someone editing it and changing it. I think there are still people out there who really are about the investigation, about the paranormal, about Bigfoot, about UFOs, where, the ego portion of it is taken out, where they don't have to have these personalities, it's like, even Ancient Aliens, things like that. I think when it's tied to a major network, well, you got to have the star of the show, and you got to have a hook, and you got to have this. I think it's switched to YouTube and other outlets because you don't have someone telling you what you need to put on there.
Mm-hmm.
And I
It
think
gives
that's
the
the
creator
difference.
more control.
Yeah.
And that's the most. I think that's the most important thing about about the investigations is I think there's more faith if it's the actual investigators putting out their footage and their video. And you can, because like I was saying earlier, the shows are edited in a way so you get the hook for the commercial, so that you get the person coming back, and it never amounts to anything, and it's very transparent that that's what they're doing, but it still works. It still hooks the viewer.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you ever saw it. There was a show on, I think it was History Channel, but they tried to do the ghost hunting thing, but with UFOs. I think it was called Chasing UFOs. But they had this team that would go to places where like a famous UFO was seen.
Mm-hmm.
And they would always somehow miraculously going to this famous UFO site, see a UFO or have some weird experience happen. Which with UFO cases, it's not like a haunting. It's not a reoccurring thing. You don't go like, oh, this happened here 30 years ago, I'm going to go there and see something now. But that's how every episode was framed. Every episode, and it was all leading to the hook, and then get the viewers back at the commercial break. And it was always bullshit. And I think it only lasted one season, because after the first season, a couple of the investigators that were on the show revealed that a lot of the stuff was fabricated by the producers, and they would have like drones fly over without telling them, so that the people would actually think something was going on. But then it was later told that it was all planned out. And it's just it's a shame that they have to resort to those sort of tactics. And I think a lot of the people, well, maybe I'm giving people too much credit. I was going to say, I think a lot of the people understand, and it's just kind of, it's like watching professional wrestling. You know it's fake. You know that the outcome is already predetermined. Everybody knows where it's leading, but you watch for the entertainment value.
Yeah. Oh my God, I was raised on wrestling. Give me a break. But the thing is, okay, I get it. And I do remember that show. And I remember I watched a couple episodes and I was like, you got to be kidding me. But what I was going to say with YouTube, with people putting their own content up there, the only downside to that is that sometimes you have to sift through the videos, especially when it comes to Bigfoot. There was, oh God, I remember the guy who said that he killed a Bigfoot and he had it in a freezer and he had footage of it. I mean, you have to kind of go through that, which is kind of like the trade-off. But I think every fabricated video maybe for every 3 or 4 fabricated video, there's going to be that one that really, like, whoa, that's something. And see, that's one thing that I never really got into before started, gathering all these stories was the cryptids, was, the things like Bigfoot. Yeah, it was all part of it. But now that I, search for content on a daily basis and I look at it, I see some of these stories and it's like some of them are really, really interesting. And things that I learned myself. I mean, Bigfoot has a Native American connection in our culture, Um, there is a belief that Bigfoot, is an entity and, they have families and they have, you know, where I didn't know any of this stuff before. And now that I'm going on YouTube and looking for stuff, I see all these, somebody somewhere is going to find something and it's going to be probably in a YouTube video somewhere. It's not going to come to us from the major networks. It's not going to come to us through you know, on the internet from one of these big companies.
Right.
It's going to come from somebody who is out there, doing their thing, maybe just on the weekends because they have to have a regular job to pay the bills, but still has that interest, that belief that there's something out there. The weekend warrior, if you want to call him that. That's the person that's going to make the discovery. So it's like no matter what you're being spoon-fed on television or, you still have to keep searching yourself. You can't accept what's, again, fake news. Okay, let's talk about that. You can't accept what's being spoon-fed to you because you have to do a little bit of your own searching. And I think in that personal search, this is where we're going to find, someone is going to find Bigfoot. Someone is actually going to find Mothman. We are going to find an actual apparition, a ghost. We're going to make that connection. We are actually going to find that UFO. Some of these videos that from Mexico City, where they keep seeing this long cylinder going into the volcano. I want to know what that is. That's where my question is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's sparking me. The volcano in Hawaii right now. I'm seeing like reports of like they're seeing UFOs going there. Okay, so what is this? I need somebody to find footage somewhere or to get footage. But where's that stuff going? I mean, it's not going to the major news outlets. It's going to go on YouTube somewhere. It's going to be there. So we can't stop looking. We can't stop questioning. As long as there are breath in our bodies, we really should keep asking questions, but not just, take the focus away from politics and all that bullshit. It's never going to change. Okay. You're always going to have this side, that side. It's always going to be someone looking for power. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's a granted. That's always going to happen. Use your questions for the other things. How did we get here? Where did we going? What happens to our spirit? What happens to our energy? Is there really UFOs out there? And, are they going to come here and destroy us? Or are we going to live in harmony? Is it really going to be ET? Is Bigfoot really out there? Can I picnic with him? Or is he going to disappear into the fifth dimension? Those are the questions that we need to keep asking. Not, like, oh, well, why did Melania Trump wear that jacket? I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, no, not too many people do, but I don't know. It's gross just the way things are now. I mean, just like with the whole YouTube thing, which I like, it keeps people who put out videos like this honest because people are just going to instantly call bullshit on it. And,
Mm-hmm.
So there's people, if you find those rare gems to where, I mean, it may not even have that many views, but it's an honest thing like Spectral Wolfpack Squad. They kind of breathe new life into watching stuff like that because it's not being mass produced. It's not being all edited up and stuff like that. But yeah, it definitely keeps them honest, and I like that about that. But just with the way things are with self-publishing, I guess, and putting out content. I mean, like musicians hardly, well, in pop music anyway, they don't even release albums that much anymore. They're just literally doing it by song now.
Mm-hmm.
So there is kind of a backflop from having all this new way of communication, which I think people are, a lot of things with me with the numbing of the spiritual awareness comes from that technology. I understand where you were saying that, Mike, like that kind of connected the dots while you guys were talking. So who knows, but it just, it was made on purpose. It was made to distract us. And it just bums me out that it works so well. I mean, it even works on me. I'll be sitting there looking down at my phone. I might be looking for cool YouTube videos about Bigfoot and UFOs and cryptids and stuff like that, but my head's still down in my phone just like everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, you're talking about the self-publishing. I have been writing a book for 2 years. It's like
Whoa.
I have been trying to put down my experiences on paper, because the things that I've gone through, the things that have happened to me, it's not so much that I want everybody to say, oh, look what she's done. It might trigger something in someone else. Oh, that happened to me too. Or to try to explain some of the things. There is so much in this head that, my spirit guides have been telling me, you got to write this book. You got to write this book. But it's kind of like I'll write something and then I'll go get distracted and then I'll come back and I'll write. It's like I'm the original ADD kid. So it's like I come back and forth. So eventually I want to finish this. But there's just, in the course of from the first time that I started investigating to like now, my perspective has changed so much. It's basically the same thing in belief, but I've learned so much that it's different. So I want to put that down on paper. And even if it's for my own grandkids someday, like, whoa, grandma did that. I want, I just want to put it down on paper, because it's like I've been lucky enough to have all of these experiences happen to me. And it's kind of like, I just want to show other people that, it's out there. You don't have to sit and accept what reality is. You can go search for it. You can actually go out and look for it. Sometimes you don't even have to leave your house to do it. But unless you ask the questions and unless you go look for an answer, you're never going to learn anything. And by doing what I've done, for me, has brought me so many answers. So maybe if I can help someone find their answers, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, I've gone through a little bit of that with just doing all the research for the shows. Mike, I'm sure you have as well. You definitely, as you grow older, you're able to recognize bullshit more, and it does change your opinions on a lot of things.
Yeah, just doing research for the show. I used to be like a hardcore believer in ghosts and in aliens, and I've been researching and getting into all of the phenomenon that have occurred that share different symptoms, I guess, for lack of a better term, where you'll have like UFO sightings, but then you'll have poltergeist activity and a Bigfoot sighting, all in the same place. And it's weird. And it makes me think that all these things, that the labels that we're giving them aren't exactly accurate to what they actually are.
Right.
And that they're somehow connected. Like all of that. And the word paranormal gets used, but I think that it might be really a natural part of our world that we haven't been able to discover what it is.
Yeah, which kind of leads me to one thing that I've kind of like has been kind of like moving into my sense of awareness. Is kind of like, even with the paranormal. Okay, you got all these people that have all these claims and stuff like that. Well, part of what you're doing when you're trying to debunk something, there's a portion, okay, mental illness, drugs, things like that. Our perceptions, a person's perceptions, sometimes can be fueled by a mental illness. They can be fueled by drugs. They can be fueled by drink. So a lot of the things that people are out there and claiming, it's almost like you have to kind of take the source. You have to kind of take all of these things. And, as a society, we have not looked at mental illness. We have not addressed it like it should be. And I think that's a whole portion where it's like, a schizophrenic is going to have hallucinations, and they're going to have things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how, if they're seeing something, how do we know that what we're seeing isn't something that we're just generating in our own minds? That's another thing that I'm starting to like look at. Was the more I read about what people are seeing and what they report and things like that, even my own experiences. Okay, it's like, I'm starting to question more. Okay, did I really see that? Did I really see that shadow person? Or is it just my eyes? Those are questions where in the beginning, like you said, Mike, die hard, oh, it's a ghost, I saw this. But as you get more aware and the more you learn, you start questioning more and more. And now all of a sudden there's like all these other little vines that are adding to it. And it's like, okay, wait a minute, is this part of this or is this part of that? So there's so much more. The more you learn, the more questions you're going to have.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
It's just the way it is. I'm sorry. I'm just rattling off here.
That's okay. We do the same about a subject that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Yeah,
that's the whole point.
But I will say, you know what? Talking to you guys is just like so much fun because it's like I'm talking to friends, to guys that understand, and it's like we have a lot of people that are more interested in it, but they don't really understand. Some of the questions that I get are just like, seriously, are you really seriously? I've had people come up to me and ask me things that it's like, you've watched too much TV. Okay. Your solution is shut the TV off. So it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard sometimes, when people hear, oh, you paranormal investigate, then all of a sudden you get all these questions and they're just like kind of basic knowledge for someone who is aware. But part of the responsibility as being a person that knows about it, you do kind of have a responsibility to kind of like tell them the truth instead of them relying on, reruns of a show that really was all bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the people that use Ancient Aliens for their information on aliens.
You mean it wasn't aliens?
I mean, it depends who you ask. If it's Giorgio Tsoukalos, you might get a different answer.
I met him I went to one of his lectures, and I have to say he's entertaining and he really puts on a good show, and that's basically what it felt like. The lecture kind of felt like a show.
I've seen him speak too, and I would have to agree.
Yeah, I think it's it's not so much the content, it's his presentation. But again, there's ego. The biggest disease that has affected anything in the paranormal, cryptid, or UFO world.
Yeah, I'll agree completely. The ego thing it's a killer, I think. Like I feel like the more ego is involved, which is my main gripe with Stephen Greer. I loved the Disclosure Project thing, but he's an egomaniac, and I just can't. It just really turns me off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, ego I've seen ego destroy quite a bit, and it's just like, it's crazy. It's like, you know what? Take yourself out of the equation and concentrate on your content. And that's where the secret is. That's where that's where you're going to connect with more people. But when it comes down to this, look at me, look what I can do, no one really cares. No one gives a shit.
No. Yeah. Tsoukalos very much seemed more, these days, I guess, when I saw him speak, he seemed more of like a TV producer than a scientist.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing, and I hate to say this, I met Josh Gates, and he comes across as a stand-up comedian. Not so much as an adventurer. And some of the topics that he has, really, really good. But I kind of wish he would have gone back to the Destination Unknown things, like when they went to Masada in Israel. I mean, that was like fascinating, but some of this stuff, they're searching for gold treasure, big whoopee. That's not, I mean, I really don't care unless there's a ghost attached to that treasure.
Yeah.
then I'm good. Same thing like horror movies. Very few horror movies really do anything for me. Now, I just happened to watch Hereditary. Oh my God, I really did enjoy it. Not scary, but then again, very few things scare me. But I really did enjoy that movie. But again, horror movies, same thing. Very few and far between. They get this certain formula and they throw it out, and it's like, seeing this, it's just a rehashing of the same story.
Yeah, very much so. It's very rarely will I find a good horror movie that I enjoy anymore. The last good one I saw was The Witch.
I didn't even see that one. I have to look that one up.
You gotta
Hereditary is being compared to The Witch a lot.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
You would love that one, Lucy. I definitely highly recommend you watching The Witch. That one changed my opinion on the whole subject.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because Hereditary, I just kept reading the reviews and they kept saying, oh, this will really scare you. It wasn't scary, but I think it was put together really well. And I don't know if you're familiar with a movie called Santa Sangre.
No.
It's kind of like, let's see, the director is, oh God, I can't remember, but look it up, Santa Sangre. It's kind of like this weird fantasy horror. It's in Spanish, but the end of Hereditary kind of reminded me of that. It's like this movie they've taken from different films and kind of like sifted the ideas, but they put it together really well. And I'm telling you, I enjoyed it. But that's when I'm going to have to look up The Witch. Is it recent or about what year do you think?
Mike, when did that come out?
I think it was like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll look it up. Because like I says, I don't really watch a whole lot of them because I don't find anything good, but I will add that to the list.
Yeah. I love that movie. I go through the same thing. When it's something that's good, like The Witch, I wasn't scared. I went, oh shit, that's cool. I have that reaction more than fear.
Yeah, that's me. Oh, look at that. That's like so cool.
Yeah. Did you see that? Never an urge to scream or jump or yell. Just like, whoa.
What? So that's it, guys. I mean, it's like, I don't know. All in all, it's like I have hope for knowledge in the paranormal, but I don't really see it being the big thing on major television anymore. I mean, the pickings are far and few. And, as far as like, Bigfoot, UFO, stuff like that, it's almost like there's like this drought right now of credible sources. They're out there. Like it says, YouTube seems to be the place where to find things and to see things. But again, you have to sift through it. Not everything that you're going to see on YouTube is credible, but that's the trade-off. You're going to find something good on there, but you have to kiss a few frogs before you find the prince.
Yeah. In just the same search, you can find some really awesome gems and then just stuff that I just don't know why people put it out. I guess it's all just advertising money and clicks, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, Lucy, we don't want to take any more of your time. Before we let you go, can you tell everybody where they can find your Twitter feeds? Well, not find your Twitter feeds because they're on Twitter, but the names for them and stuff.
Well, okay. The television feed is at Luci, Luci _L. And the paranormal feed is, I got to look it up because it's the Metaphysical Diary.
Yeah.
And that is at Metaphys Diary. METAPHYSDIARY. And Metaphysical Diary is where you're going to find all of the articles, videos, things that I find. I don't add a lot of comment to it. That's one thing that I've kind of like tried to stay out of it because again, ego. You don't care what I think. I just want to put the content out there. Make your own opinion about it. lot of people, they comment in, on the post. That's where the conversations start. So I'm not going to put my take on it, because I want people out there to make their own decisions. I want them to make their own questions. Sure, if someone's going to ask me a question, not a problem. I still do have a website, Tarot Readings with Luci. Just type that in. And then, of course, I'm still on Facebook. There's a metaphysical diary page, and then you can always just look me up. It's Luci Leibfried.
All right, Luci, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. And it's really awesome to talk to you. We'll have you back on fewer than a couple of years from now.
Thank you, guys. Again, like I says, I can't say enough about your podcast. It's like, because I'm so proud of you guys. It's like watching your little brother do good, and you guys are so interesting and so cool, and I'm so very proud of you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Luci.
All right, guys. Have a wonderful night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Whatcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, iTunes, and YouTube. Enjoy the podcast. Get yourself a Whatcast t-shirt or a sticker pack. Who was that dude on that one episode? Try the links in Homie's page. All this and more can be found at www.thewhatcasters.com. Thanks again for listening and have a great week.